Hello and welcome. Mr. Johnson here with you. And I've been asked to make a video specifically outlining how to use some of the features on a TI calculator, specifically how to do exponential form as well as storing a value in the calculator. So because it's difficult to see with my hand calculator, I am going to be using an emulator on my Chromebook. And you can tell that that emulator looks practically identical to my handheld. And anything I do on that emulator, you can do on your handheld. I do want to warn you that if you are using the Chromebook calculator, if you are storing values in, like I'm going to show you, as soon as you close that application, it is going to remove those stored values. But hopefully, the way that I show you to do it, it's easy enough process that you can quickly put those values back in there whenever you're doing math. Okay, so this is the emulator that I'm going to be using again, and let's go on and jump directly into some of the functionality with it. So first off, exponents. Okay, typically when you're putting a value into the calculator that has an exponent, there's two different ways that you can do this. The first way, and I'm going to use Avogadro's number for this, is 6.02, and then you can hit times 10 and then to the, it's this caret symbol right above the division sign. So to the, and then 23rd, and I hit enter, and notice that the calculator spits out 6.02 E23. That E is the same thing as times 10 to the. Okay, so you can plug it in this way, but if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I constantly am mentioning that if you're going to use values in this format for calculations, you always want to put them inside of parentheses first. Otherwise, your calculator is not going to know that this entire value needs to be used at once. Instead, it will end up doing some really weird math, and you'll get a really odd answer. So either use parentheses around a value that has an exponent, or you can do this exact same type of deal as what your calculator spits out, 6.02, and then second EE. That is this comma button that's right above the 7. So I've got that E, which again means same thing as times 10 to the, and then 23. And when I hit enter, it spits out the exact same thing that my calculator would. When you use this exponent key, you no longer have to use parentheses around the value. The calculator is smart enough to recognize that this is one grouped value that you're going to be using. So in my videos, when I talk about times 10 to the or E something, that's what I'm talking about, either entering it as 10 to the and then your exponent, or I'm using that exponent key of E and then that exponent. Okay. Then the other tip that I have for you on this is storing values in the calculator. So one of the values that we use when dealing with wavelength, frequency, and energy, which I just put a video out on, is the speed of light, celeritas. And we use 3.00 times 10 to the 8th meters per second. And you're going to use that value a lot in the calculation. So here's what I recommend for you. Go on and type in 3.00 E8, and then hit enter. And your calculator is going to spit out this value. That is 3.00 times 10 to the 8. But then this button right above the on button that says STO with an arrow, that's the store function. And if you click that button, your screen will now read answer and then an arrow. You can then tell it any letter that you want by hitting alpha. And then I'm going to use C because that's the symbol that we use for speed of light. So now my calculator says answer arrow C. I hit enter again, and I've just stored that value in. You can verify this by hitting clear and then alpha and then C, hit enter, and notice it spits it right back out. So what this does is anytime I need that value in a calculation, say I need to double it, I can hit 2 times alpha C, enter, and it's doubled it. But even quicker, I can simply type 2 alpha C, and my calculator recognizes that because they're sitting next to each other, I want to multiply, and I don't even have to hit the multiply button. Same thing if I'm going to divide, alpha C divided by 2, and notice I get half of the value of C. So that's a speedy way to be able to enter in that value without having to constantly type in 3.0 E8. Another value is Planck's constant, which is 6.626. 6.626. And then E to the negative 34th. So I type that in first, hit enter. So it spits it out on my screen. Store. And I'm going to do this as alpha H, because that's the symbol that we use for Planck's constant. Hit enter. And now it's in there. Again, I can verify by clearing, typing back in alpha H, hit enter, and there it is. So now anytime I work a problem using Planck's constant, instead of having to type in 6.626 E negative 34, alpha H. And this is very useful if you've given a wavelength in solving for energy, because the equation is wavelength equals alpha or HC per energy. So all I've got to do in the calculator is alpha H, alpha C, and my calculator knows I want that stored value of H multiplied by the stored value of C, hit enter, and that's my value of Planck's constant times the speed of light, and then I can divide by whatever energy they give me. So that's a real quick rundown of how you can use the exponent key, either times 10 to the, or just that E button to simplify putting exponential form values into the calculator. And that is also how you go about storing values that you're going to use consistently. And again, even though I've done that on an emulator on the Chromebook, it's the exact same functionality on the actual handheld. You've got your store button right above the on, alpha button right where it's at, and then even the E button, which is right above that comma button. So exact same setup. Hopefully that helps you out. If you got any questions, feel free to leave me comments in the comment section, your questions down there. If you got ideas for future videos like this one that I was given, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get it done for you. Thanks, and take care.